If you haven't started your personal project yet, then this is the presentation for you. You have your idea and you've maybe started your research. Now what? So we're going to talk about page 7, 14, and 22. Now page 7 always stays page 7, but on page 14, the section descriptions that starts on page 14 and each section is on a new page. And page 22 is where the rubrics start. This is of course from your student guide that we gave to you. So 7, 14, and 22 are really important. The process journal, the section description, and the rubric. So page 7 is where it describes the process journal. It has some questions in there and it tells you, not questions, it has some bullet points in there and it tells you what it is that should be in your process journal. So section 1 is criterion A, investigating. So the first little bit, this is just the first bullet point that I have here. It says to explain what you want to achieve, when, where, how, and why you want to achieve it. Define your global context, identify the exploration and how it applies to your project. And then explain what makes your project personal, your interests and your ideas that are important to you, and document any changes throughout the project and explain why you made them. So that's all well and good. What are you supposed to do with that? You should try to complete the bullet points to the absolute best of your ability. Be as expansive and descriptive as you can. When I say expansive, I mean write about it as much as you can, absolutely as much as you possibly can. And that does not have to be the most perfect writing you've ever done. Don't labor over this trying to get the right words in the right way. This should be quick writing and jotting down notes, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be messy and unorganized. Use examples to show your line of thinking. So when you're writing about something and you're explaining what you want to achieve, write some examples. Where or when and how, try to answer these questions in as many different ways as possible. Look for action verbs in the point and make sure you do what it says. For example, explain, define, and identify. Starting on page 14 is the section description. So once you've already done the bullet points from page 7, and you've done that first little section there, then go to page 14, and that has the section description. So in that section, you have to write about what you want to do. So this is actually writing of the report. And here it says 1A, which is that first little section. It corresponds to that section that I described from page 7. You have to outline your clear, achievable, and highly challenging goal. You must justify why this goal is highly challenging. Explain why the topic is of interest to you. Explain and justify your choices of global context. And you must meaningfully relate your goal to the global context. So read each of the bullet points carefully. Using what you wrote in your process journal, write clear, comprehensive paragraphs that cover each bullet point. It's pretty simple actually. Once you've done the things from page 7 for your process journal, it's really easy to take those bullet pointed answers and turn it into paragraphs because you already have the legwork done. Finally, you go to page 22, which is the rubric. And on the rubric, it has the description, broken up into strands, which is actually what we've done. We've done strand 1 with the process journal, and then strand 1 with the written report. And now this is strand 1 for investigating on the rubric. So if you look at the rubric here, please take note that at the bottom of the rubric is 7 and 8. No one should ever try to do anything other than aim for 7 and 8, which is the highest amount that you can get. So if we look over here on the rubric, it says under 7 and 8 that you need to develop a clear and highly challenging goal and global context for the project based on your personal interest. You have to evaluate your writing with the rubric. Look at the words in bold and have someone else look at your report to examine if your writing satisfies the rubric. Then edit it if it doesn't and repeat again. What I mean by that is when somebody looks at your writing for that first strand, have them look to see if you justify that the goal is highly challenging. Do you explain or do you justify? Do you outline or do you state? So if you look at the rubric, as it goes down further, there's justify, there's explain, outline, and state. You want to be at the justified level. So when you ask somebody to read your essay or your report, have them look to see if you've done this thing in the things in bold. It's a lot easier for someone to evaluate your writing for you if you give them something specific that they're looking for. If you don't give them something specific, then it's quite likely that they will simply look at it and say, "Oh yeah, good job," but that's not going to help you. And the last bullet point here, the edit and repeat, is probably the most important part. Once you get somebody to look at it, you need to look back at what you've done and try to make it a little bit better. And then you go to the next bullet point. And what this does is it breaks down your report into manageable pieces. And it also means that once you finish that first section and you've had someone look it over, that you can probably call that first section done. And then once everything is written, you can have somebody look at that entire section, making sure to look at each point on the rubric and making sure that you're aiming for the 7s and 8s. Always remember that help is only an email or a Zoom meeting away. See you soon.